Hey everybody, it's Corey from Thought Soldiers. So I got a request on a few videos back about talking about 5G interference when it comes to meditation and just existing in our world as our sensitivity increases, and how we can coexist with 5G frequencies as well as really high EMF fields and things being able that are physically either bringing down our vibration or they're affecting us to a degree where we're feeling ungrounded, unsettled, and extremely affected by these energies. So when I was living in San Diego, 5G wasn't really as available there as in other parts of the country, but I was heavily affected by the power lines in my area. I lived in an extremely urban area that had a lot of old power lines running right above my house, and so there were moments throughout the day and throughout the night where I could tune in and pick up on those frequencies. I felt like my mind was being blasted by radiation. Very strange symptoms occurred as a result of this. Also, living in a heavy government and military zone in San Diego, California, there was just a lot of strange things that happened electrically with me. And so I want to talk about ways that we can be able to, I want to say combat it, but I think that is the complete wrong approach when it comes down to any sort of interference in our life, is not to combat, but to actually resist the urge of that combat, so we don't create a discord vibration in reaction to anything in life and just become the conscious observer. So when it comes down to coexisting with these energies as they arrive, the first thing that we need to remember is that we are evolving as a species, and we should show gratitude for things like 5G and technological evolution. Because when it comes down to it, without those things being available to us, how would we be able to connect to one another and be able to grow and expand our consciousness? This video right now is a direct result of technological evolution of man. And yes, there have been many downsides to that, but the idea is to take our power back and to look at the fact that technology is evolving, that it is also helping us to evolve as a species. We're now able to connect faster with one another across the globe. These companies are expanding and growing, which means that there's going to be more job opportunities for people. Just like, our own spiritual expansion, the expansion and the growth of these companies can be looked at many different ways. Like, yeah, there might be more controls, there might be more negative things that happen, but there's also a lot of great things that can happen from that. And as long as we stay in that gratitude frequency for the fact that because it is evolving, we are evolving as a species too, that gratitude frequency is going to help to coexist in it and to see it in a new light. And so there are a lot of there's a lot of harm that these towers and these technological systems are creating for Mother Earth. So when it comes down to it, there is two sides of the coin, but we have to step away from the polarity and to integrate those. And I choose to focus more on the good side of why these things are evolving, even though it is doing a lot of harm to Gaia, which is kind of negates the entire argument that I have here regarding 5G and technical evolution. But I think that we're finding with the rise of us awakening, we're going to find more green ways to coexist with this technology and to coexist with this evolution that is going to help us to grow as a species and to help Gaia as well. So the first thing to do is to practice more grounding and more earthing. So going out into nature more is really going to help. The biggest thing that I combated when I was, or not combated, let's remove that term because it needs to leave my field now. But the thing that I had to do to coexist with these things was to ground into earth and to spend as much time in nature as possible. So since my area was extremely urban, I lived in downtown San Diego in a little art community. There was not a lot of access to nature. Now, within driving distance, if I were to go drive out to the mountains, I could get there in like half an hour, but I didn't have a car. The only options I had was be able to take the bus or to walk to wherever I was going to go. But there was canyons and things like that that I could go out to and really get out into nature and dip my feet and my hands, my bare feet and my bare hands into nature in order to ground and to earth myself. This helped me to connect more and really helped to bring in that gratitude frequency and that abundant, loving, supported frequency that really helped to not focus so much on that energy that was affecting me at only certain times. So the way that it was shown to me by my guides is it's a lot like if we were to, so when we increase in sensitivity with anything going on, it's like taking a magnifying glass and zooming in and on our hands or seeing the bacteria that exists on our bodies from anything we touch. It's like taking the black light and illuminating your entire room and seeing everything that sits there. Once that awareness occurs and you start to see those things, you're going to start to become more like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's there. And you start to see it and you can almost get neurotic with the finer details of things. And this is where that term ignorance is bliss really comes into play, is because when you start to increase your awareness and see these things, you can kind of become more neurotic and more like, oh my gosh, how am I living here? And feeling more dirty and ucky. And the feeling is kind of like me living in Texas, I take a shower in the morning and then I'm outside and, by 2 or 3 o'clock, I'm sticky and sweaty and it's just it's a nasty feeling. And that's what this awareness can bring in the beginning. But what we choose is to become a conscious observer of these things, and we start to practice our mastery to a point where we are unaffected by these things. And this is why, by resonating with purity and with love. So my friend Sarah told me a really good analogy where and I already told her I was going to bring up this analogy in this video. So Sarah, thank you so much for bringing this up. And she's a wonderful light worker, extremely evolved being that has some really great insight. But there were some guys dropping off water. She saw a water truck and basically found the water guys and said, "What is the coolest fact you can tell me about water?" And he said that water in its purest state conducts no electricity. And so it was a great analogy for combating the 5G energy or any of these electrical energies, is that when we rise to the love or above frequency and keep our vibe as high as possible, we can become unaffected by those things. It's like, think of the monk, the monks that set themselves on fire, or those that will, like if we look at, who's the guy that does the breath work? Where Wim Hof, how he will expose himself to extremely, extremely rigid temperatures in order to take his mind and be able to shut off the pain through the breath. So this is the idea of the mastery that we are going to get to as these technological systems evolve and these frequencies start to develop, is we're going to get to a point where we are so in control of our minds and conscious observers and tying into the breath and extreme mindfulness that we will be unaffected by these things. So what my guides are showing me right now is like, have you ever been so focused on, like, so let's say you go out on a date, okay, and you are just so enveloped with this person and so happy that your focus is entirely on them and the world shuts off around you, and you can just focus on that time. You lose track of time, you focus on that connection, you build that strength and you build that bond, and that love that grows between you starts to get to the point where anything can happen around you and you feel like you can conquer anything. Well, this is what we do with ourselves to combat these things, is we align with our love and our truth and become a conscious observer to the point that we become unaffected by it. So it's just energy. Just like I am energy, you are energy. That's all it is energy. And when we start to give it power by understanding it, staying below it, and not rising above it, not understanding it or overstanding it, but seeing it and just seeing it for what it is, which is just energy, we start to remove the power from it and we don't let it affect us. And so a lot of this is just tuning our frequency into that love or above sense and not giving into it, but be kind of desensitizing ourselves to it by not focusing on it. So the human has a magic magnifying mind. Whatever we choose to focus on will expand into our reality, and that is what we see. And so if you are so focused your sensitivity and tuning your channel into the frequency of these things, just like anything in life, you will start to magnify that experience and call that experience into your realm. And so the more you are unaffected and the more you are focused on yourself, you're focused on your family, your careers, your passions, and staying in alignment, the less affected you are going to be by those things. And so another good tip that I was reading up on was diet and nutrition. So drinking more water, eating a healthy diet, eating more raw fruits and vegetables, things of that nature, are going to stop those frequencies from coming in. So anything with a high metal content in it, like any foods with a high metallic content, once again, I'm channeling this right now. It's not something I've researched, so I don't know exactly, but anything with a lot of metals in it, you're going to feel that more in your body. So I'm getting to keep black tourmaline on you and things like opalite. Not opalite. Yeah, opalite? No. You're going to keep black tourmaline on you, and elite shungite will help to combat EMF frequencies and to ground yourself and to earth yourself. There are also earthing blankets and earthing materials that you can get that you actually plug into an electrical socket, and it's like a cord that wraps around your wrist or your ankle, or even earthing blankets that you can buy that will help to ground in your energy as much as possible, and that's really going to help. So the main thing is to practice grounding, get out into nature at least 2 hours a week. There was a publication I saw where they said that if you go out into nature 2 hours a week, you will actually extend the length of your life, because you're going to be living in more of a higher vibe and in more gratitude and feeling more connected to Earth. Once again, diet and exercise will really help. So purifying your diet, making sure you are eating nothing but pure foods and vegetables, all organic, which is hard to afford for some people. So I don't really, this isn't me pitching a vegetarian or an organic agenda at all, because it's something I don't like to promote, but it's something that will help. Because it's just energy. It's like any lower force that comes into our field. We strengthen our field and we become unaffected by it. We master it. But the idea too is to shut off the neurosis. So once again, I'm getting the vision of the bacteria on the hand. We have to zoom out and focus more on ourselves, focus on our more of the love frequency, and you're going to be able to shut off those aspects and be not as affected by them. But what's really neat, though, too, that we have to look at is, even though this technology is evolving and expanding, it's giving us more awareness to our fields, more awareness to strengthening our fields, towards purifying our diets, and towards expanding and growing so we can coexist alongside them. So as this technology is evolving, so are we as a species. So that's where we thank it and we grow it, is because now we're becoming more mindful of the foods we eat. We're becoming more mindful of all of these things that we are putting in our system, practicing more breath work, more yoga, more meditation, more mindfulness in order to combat it. We're going out into, if the call is to go out into nature more, we're connecting more with Gaia. We're connecting more to the crystalline grid. How beautiful is that? Sometimes these things are catalytic triggers towards purifying us. And this is what this ascension path is about, is the fact that there are sometimes those dark things that enter our world because we alchemize, and it pushes us, it catalyzes us into a more purified state, a more balanced state. We start to turn more to the Mediterranean diet, which is more of that old ancient Egypt diet. We start to enjoy more prana, more earth, more breath, more nature. How beautiful is that? So yes, we can choose to see this one of many ways. The man is rising up there. It's affecting planet Earth, which it is, and I'm not going to negate that. But the rise of this evolution, if it's pushing you more towards an alkaline state, is that thing a good catalyst or a bad catalyst? See, it's pushing us towards light. So it goes to show that if all of these things are just aspects of us, and it's catalyzing us more towards light and more towards aligned to truth and more in harmony and in balance with Gaia, then this is just a light thing that is showing up as a shadow aspect in order for us to catalyze and to grow and to expand and to really become who we are in our sovereignty and to strengthen our field. And so I see it as a beautiful test. So these are some simple things that you can do. Also do research too. Any question that is asked to me, you can simply go into Google and ask into Google. Thank you to 5G and thank you to technology. We now have access to so many different viewpoints and perspectives on these scenarios, and can start to find more ways to be able to coexist alongside them. And so shielding will be help too, and it will help too. And if it's one of those things that you can't exist in your environment that way anymore, then if you have the opportunity to get up and move, then move. That it's as simple as that. Maybe you're called to go live in a more a nature realm. Go out into the mountains. Find a place that doesn't have so much 5G coverage or doesn't have so much electrical interference. You know, a lot of these things are happening, and this awareness is happening because it's creating motion in Mother Earth, and it's creating a collective motion as well, where more people are moving. People are accessing different points of the grid now. And because of that, so if my experience in San Diego, all of the knowledge that I gained in San Diego pushed me out to Texas, it's because there's a greater purpose. My message of what I grounded what I grounded in and accessed in San Diego is going to serve a purpose here in Texas that's a lot greater than I can imagine in my small temporal form right now. So remember that if you're getting called to move somewhere because of your environment, it's maybe because that collective shakeup is going to create momentum for these polar shifts and to anchor in more of this 5D experience for yourself, and this higher consciousness that we are currently anchoring in as we are nearing 0 point here on planet Earth. So do what you can towards taking care of yourself and aligning your thoughts and your frequency to be able to combat these heavy electrical energies. But if you can't, try to move. And I understand that there are so many different circumstances that may keep you restricted, but remember that maybe you are stuck there because there's an important lesson that you need to learn and to wrap up, to evolve and change, to get out of that environment. So there's so much more that could go on that really is an individualized basis, but I'm just kind of flipping through different perspectives and flipping through the pages of what my guides brought forth to me to talk about this. So anyways, much love and respect to everybody on the Webiverse. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for all your continued support. All my links are in the description box. And with that, I will see you on the other side. Namaste.